Reach up and touch your hair. It has been growing your entire life. It grew while you slept last night. It will grow about half an inch this month, whether you want it to or not. And for the last 300,000 years, every single one of your ancestors had exactly the same problem you have right now. Hair that never stops. And not one of them owned a pair of scissors. So, what did they do? You have never once wondered. Almost nobody has. It is too ordinary a question to ask. But hidden inside it is one of the oldest and strangest survival stories on Earth. A story written in flint, in bone, in bronze, and in blood. Start at the very beginning. Before metal, before cities, before a single word had ever been written down. Your Stone Age ancestors did not have blades the way you picture them. They had rocks, sharp flakes of flint and volcanic glass, struck again and again until the edge was thinner than surgical steel, sharp enough to open skin, sharp enough to shear through hair. On different continents, people solved the same problem with whatever was sharp and close. Obsidian, seashells pressed together like tweezers, even the teeth of sharks, and we know they used them, because the evidence survived. When climbers found Ötzi, the 5,000-year-old iceman frozen in the Alps, his hair had been deliberately cut, trimmed to about 9 centimeters, his beard shaped. 5,000 years ago, someone sat another human being down and gave them a haircut with a piece of stone. And when a blade would not do the job, they used fire, singeing the ends down to a stub. Imagine the smell of your own burning hair in the dark, beside the same fire that was keeping you alive through the night. But here is the part that should stop you cold. One of the very first tools human beings ever made, older than the wheel, older than farming, was the comb, carved from bone and antler, tens of thousands of years ago. Think about what that means. Before we learned to reliably feed ourselves, we had already learned to care how our hair looked. Why? Hold on to that question, because the real answer is not what you think, and to reach it, we have to keep going. Move forward to ancient Egypt, and everything turns upside down. There, the goal was not to style your hair, it was to erase it. Egyptian priests shaved their entire bodies, head, eyebrows, all of it, every few days, not out of vanity. It was a war against lice, against the desert heat, against the parasites that could turn a thick head of hair into a slow death sentence. So they scraped themselves smooth with copper razors, razors so valued they were buried in their owners' tombs for the next life. And then they did something stranger still. They placed elaborate wigs on top of their bare scalps. They destroyed their real hair completely, and then wore fake hair over the emptiness. Status you could lift off and set down at the door. By the time you reach Greece and Rome, hair had become something else entirely. It had become power. In Rome, the barber was not a convenience. He was an institution. The barbershop, the tonstrina, was where men gathered to trade gossip, close deals, and hear the news of the day. The Roman writer Pliny the Elder recorded that professional barbers first arrived in the city around 296 BC. To be clean-shaven was to be civilized, Roman, in command of yourself. To be unkempt was to be a barbarian, or in mourning, or guilty of a crime. And then there is Alexander the Great, who gave an order that sounds insane until you understand it. He commanded his entire army to shave their beards before going into battle. Every soldier. Why would a conqueror, on the edge of war, care about facial hair? Because a beard is a handle. In the crush of close combat, an enemy grabs it, wrenches your head down, and opens your throat. Alexander shaved his men to keep them alive. A haircut as an act of war. Now the myth. You picture the Vikings as filthy, matted, wild men from the cold. You could not be more wrong. When archaeologists open Viking graves, one object appears again and again, more often than almost anything else: the comb. Personal grooming kits, combs of antler, tweezers, tiny tools for cleaning the nails and shaping the beard. The raiders who terrified all of Europe were, by the standards of their time, obsessively well-groomed. Writers in England of the age complained, bitterly, that the Norsemen's good grooming made them far too charming to the local women. So step back now and ask the real question, the one we have been circling this entire time. Why did human beings, in every era, on every continent, pour so much precious effort into something as trivial as cutting their hair? Because it was never trivial. That is the whole reveal. Cutting your hair was survival, killing the lice and sickness that lived inside it. It was warfare, denying your enemy something to grab. It was identity, written on the body for everyone to read. The shaved head of the prisoner and the slave. The long, uncut hair of the free and the powerful. The priest's bare, polished scalp. The comb that quietly announced you belonged to a people and were not some wild thing living alone in the woods. For 300,000 years, the way you wore your hair told the world, without a single word, exactly who and what you were. And it still does. You just stopped noticing. The barbershop you walk into is a direct descendant of that Roman tonstrina, one of the oldest social spaces our species ever invented. The razor sitting in your bathroom is the great-great-grandchild of a flint flake and a bronze blade. The simple act of settling into a chair and letting another person shape your hair links you, in one unbroken line, back to Otzi in the ice, to the Egyptian priest, to the Viking with his antler comb. So reach up and touch your hair one more time. It is still growing. It always will be. And the small, ordinary thing you will do about it this week connects you to every ancestor who ever solved this exact problem with a rock, a shell, or a sharpened piece of bronze. You did not invent it. You inherited it.